This waterfront estate costs $42,750,000. It sits on one of the most valuable pieces of land in Florida, but some people say it's not even worth half the price. Welcome to Luxury Cribs America. Today, we're taking a deep dive inside one of Florida's most expensive waterfront homes, a $42.75 million ultra-luxury estate built on prime water frontage, designed to impress, dominate, and spark debate. This isn't just a home tour, this is a question. At nearly $43 million, this estate should deliver everything: location, design, privacy, amenities, and long-term value. But luxury at this level isn't just about square footage or price tags, it's about whether the experience actually justifies the cost. So as we explore this property, don't just admire it, judge it. Because by the end of this video, you'll have to answer one simple question. Is this estate truly worth $42,750,000, or is it wildly overpriced? Before we even step inside, we need to talk about where this home sits, because at this level of wealth, location is the asset. This estate is positioned on a rare waterfront lot, offering direct water access with expansive frontage, the kind of property that simply cannot be replicated. In markets like Fort Lauderdale and South Florida, land like this is disappearing fast. That scarcity alone is a major reason prices continue to climb. Unlike interior luxury homes, waterfront estates operate on a different scale of value. Buyers here aren't just purchasing a structure, they're buying water access, boating freedom, and a lifestyle that revolves around the ocean. From above, the property immediately commands attention. The lot stretches outward into the water, maximizing views and dock space. This is not a standard canal home. This is the kind of positioning that allows for large yacht dockage, unobstructed sightlines, and long-term desirability. And that's where the price conversation begins. At $42.75 million, this home sits in a very specific category, not entry-level luxury, not celebrity luxury, but ultra-high net worth territory. The buyer here is not stretching. They're choosing, which means expectations are brutal. The architectural style is modern, clean, and intentionally restrained. Straight lines dominate the structure. Floor plates extend outward to create overhangs that provide shade while reinforcing a strong horizontal presence. This design isn't trying to be flashy, it's trying to be timeless. Large expanses of glass wrap the exterior, signaling one thing immediately: this home is built to showcase the water. Nearly every major living space is oriented toward the view, blurring the boundary between indoors and outdoors. From a distance, the estate feels massive, not just in square footage, but in footprint. The home doesn't rise sharply upward. Instead, it spreads confidently across the land, emphasizing privacy and control. But architecture alone doesn't sell a $42 million property. Execution does. Step into the backyard, and this is where the estate starts making its strongest argument. The pool stretches across the rear of the property, positioned perfectly to face the water. It's not just a visual centerpiece. It's designed for daily use, not just photos. Clean edges, seamless transitions, and direct alignment with the dock create a sense of flow that feels intentional. Beyond the pool, the dock becomes the star. This is serious dockage, the kind that attracts yacht owners, not weekend boaters. Deep water access, long frontage, and enough space to accommodate vessels that most people will never stand beside in their lifetime. For buyers in this price range, this feature alone can justify millions of dollars. Because waterfront luxury isn't about owning a boat. It's about leaving your home by water whenever you want. But here, that's where things get interesting. At nearly $43 million, buyers aren't just comparing this home to others nearby. They're comparing it to what this money buys globally. And that's where scrutiny begins. Because while this estate delivers scale, location, and water access, ultra-wealthy buyers often expect more than space and views. They expect experiential amenities, features that elevate daily life beyond standard luxury. And that's the question hanging in the air as we move inside. Does this home deliver an experience or just an expensive shell? Before we even step through the front door, the scale of this home becomes impossible to ignore. From the water, the estate stretches wide and confidently, designed to be seen and to dominate its surroundings. This isn't a home that hides, it announces itself. As you approach, the architecture reveals its intent. Clean lines, strong geometry, a deliberate absence of ornamentation. Everything about this exterior suggests control, precision, and restraint. This is modern luxury that doesn't rely on excess, it relies on proportion. Large overhangs extend outward, creating shaded outdoor areas while visually anchoring the structure to the land. The home feels grounded, even though it sits directly on the water. Floor-to-ceiling glass wraps around the main living areas, signaling that the view is not a feature, it's the focal point. Stepping inside, the first impression is openness. The entry immediately dissolves into a wide, uninterrupted living space where glass walls frame the water beyond. Natural light pours in from multiple angles, reflecting softly off stone floors and warm wood surfaces. The materials here are carefully chosen. Oak millwork introduces warmth. Stone and porcelain surfaces add weight and durability. Nothing feels cheap, but nothing screams for attention either. This is a home designed to age well, not to chase trends. The living room flows seamlessly into the dining area and kitchen, creating one expansive social zone rather than a series of separate rooms. This layout encourages movement, conversation, and connection. From nearly every position, the water remains in view, reinforcing the home's relationship with its location. The kitchen is designed to function at scale. Large island, integrated appliances, clean cabinetry that blends into the architecture rather than standing apart. This is a space meant to serve both daily living and large gatherings without compromise. But here's where subtle judgment begins. At this price point, buyers expect not just beauty, but layers. They look for spaces that surprise them, rooms that feel indulgent, moments that justify the number attached to the property. And while this main living area is undeniably elegant, it's also restrained. Some will see this as timeless sophistication. Others may feel it lacks drama. Moving deeper into the home, secondary spaces continue the same design language. Clean lines, neutral tones, glass and wood repeated with discipline. There is consistency everywhere, which can be either a strength or a limitation depending on taste. The primary suite is positioned to maximize privacy and views. Floor-to-ceiling glass opens toward the water, creating a serene retreat. The bedroom itself is spacious, but again, intentionally understated. This is not a theatrical suite. It's calm. Controlled, quiet. The bathroom elevates the experience with stone surfaces, custom fixtures, and spa-like proportions. The tub is integrated into the architecture rather than placed as a centerpiece, reinforcing the home's commitment to subtle luxury rather than spectacle. Closets are generous and well-finished, designed for organization rather than display. Everything here feels practical, refined, and purposeful. As you explore further, the home continues to deliver quality, but also predictability. And that's where opinions start to divide. Some viewers will appreciate the discipline, the absence of unnecessary gimmicks, the focus on light, flow, and materials. Others will begin asking questions. At nearly $43 million, should this home feel more experiential? Should there be spaces that shock you? Features that instantly separate it from homes half the price? Because at this level, buyers aren't comparing this house to average luxury homes. They're comparing it to the best homes in the world. And that comparison is about to matter even more as we move upward. As we move upward through the home, the experience begins to change. Elevation brings perspective, and with it, expectation. Upper levels in a property like this are not just additional space. They're where buyers expect the home to justify its price. The staircase itself is clean and architectural, more sculptural than dramatic. Glass railings preserve sightlines, allowing light to travel freely through the interior. The ascent feels calm, controlled, and intentional. Upstairs living spaces continue the same design language. Neutral tones dominate. Wood, stone, and glass repeat with consistency. The views improve as elevation increases, with broader sightlines across the water and surrounding homes. From here, the location truly asserts its value. Secondary bedrooms are generously sized, each with en-suite bathrooms finished to the same standard as the rest of the home. Nothing feels secondary in quality, only in scale. These rooms are designed for comfort and privacy, not extravagance, and that's where some buyers will pause. At this level of the market, secondary spaces often include surprises, private lounges, wellness areas, or experiential rooms that go beyond function. Here, the focus remains on refinement rather than indulgence. As we reach the top level, anticipation builds. Rooftop spaces in ultra-luxury estates are often the crown jewel, the moment that turns appreciation into disbelief. The rooftop here is expansive and thoughtfully laid out. Lounge areas are positioned to capture the best views. Outdoor spaces feel usable rather than decorative. There's room to entertain, relax, and enjoy the setting without obstruction. But once again, restraint defines the experience. There's no oversized statement feature commanding attention. No dramatic installation meant to dominate social media. Instead, the design prioritizes openness and flow. For some, this will feel elegant. For others, it may feel like a missed opportunity. Because when buyers cross into the $40 million range, they often expect amenities that go beyond lifestyle. They expect escape. private cinemas, wellness centers, dedicated fitness spaces, indoor-outdoor spa environments. And here those features are notably absent. This doesn't make the home poorly designed, it makes it debatable, which is exactly why properties like this ignite conversation. As we continue exploring, it becomes clear that this estate was designed for a very specific buyer, someone who values location above all else, someone who prioritizes water access, clean architecture, and long-term appeal over short-term spectacle. But not every ultra-wealthy buyer thinks the same way. Some want privacy above exposure. Some want dramatic interiors. Some want amenities that rival five-star resorts all under one roof. And when those expectations aren't met, even the most beautifully built home begins to face scrutiny. This is the point where admiration turns into analysis. Is this estate a masterclass in disciplined luxury, or does it play too safely for its price? That question becomes unavoidable as we take a final look at the interior experience and begin comparing this home to others in the same financial universe. Because once comparisons begin, luxury stops being about taste and starts becoming about value. At this stage, it's impossible to ignore the conversations that naturally surround a home like this. Because when a price approaches $43 million, the discussion stops being about beauty and starts being about justification. Viewers begin asking questions that go beyond taste. Questions about value, about comparison, about opportunity cost. For the same price, buyers could own multiple luxury properties in different cities. A waterfront estate here, a penthouse in New York, a hillside home in Los Angeles, or even a private villa abroad with amenities that rival boutique resorts. So what makes this home different? The strongest argument remains the land. This stretch of waterfront is rare, finite, irreplaceable. You can redesign interiors, you can add features, but you can't recreate this exact positioning once it's gone. For many ultra-wealthy buyers, that alone carries enormous weight. But land value only goes so far. As viewers continue to analyze the estate, critiques begin to surface. Some will point out the absence of a dedicated cinema room. Others will notice the lack of a full wellness center or private gym. There's no immersive spa environment. No dramatic interior moment that instantly signals excess. And these aren't unreasonable expectations. In today's ultra-luxury market, buyers are accustomed to homes that feel like self-contained resorts. Spaces designed to replace hotels, spas, and private clubs. Homes that anticipate every possible need without compromise. Here, the experience is different. This estate feels curated rather than indulgent. It's refined, not overwhelming. Elegant, not theatrical. That will resonate deeply with a certain type of buyer and leave others unconvinced. Privacy is another point of debate. Waterfront living delivers views and access, but it often sacrifices seclusion. Neighboring properties remain visible. Sightlines exist. For buyers seeking total isolation, this environment may feel exposed. And yet that same exposure is what gives the home its energy. Boats passing by, light reflecting off the water, a sense of connection to the outside world. This is not a retreat from society, it's a front row seat to it. The interior palette has also sparked discussion. Warm woods, neutral stone, consistent textures throughout. Some viewers praise the cohesion. Others feel the repetition lacks contrast. There are no dramatic shifts in tone or material to create emotional peaks. Again, this is intentional design. Consistency signals longevity. It avoids trends that age quickly. But it also risks feeling too safe in a market where boldness often commands attention. This home doesn't shout, it whispers. And in luxury real estate, whispering can be powerful, but only to the right audience. As the debate continues, one thing becomes clear. This estate was not designed to impress everyone. It was designed to satisfy a very specific mindset. Someone who values water over walls, location over spectacle, design discipline over excess. But that brings us back to the central question. At nearly $43 million, should a home ask buyers to add features later, or should everything already be there? That question lingers as we step back and consider the estate as a whole. Because luxury at this level isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. And whether this home aligns with its price depends entirely on who's asking. As we take a step back and view this estate as a complete experience, the picture becomes clearer. This home isn't trying to win everyone over. It's not designed to dominate social media feeds or shock viewers with spectacle. Instead, it positions itself as a long-term asset, something meant to hold value quietly rather than announce it loudly. For the right buyer, that restraint is the appeal. Someone who spends most of their time on the water. Someone who values clean design and predictable flow. Someone who doesn't need a cinema room because they'd rather host guests outdoors. Someone who sees a wellness center not as a necessity, but as something better experienced elsewhere. For that buyer, this estate makes sense. The spaces function well. The materials are high quality. The layout prioritizes movement, light, and openness. Nothing feels rushed or careless. The home does exactly what it promises and nothing more. But luxury is subjective. And for many viewers, the question is whether the home is beautiful. It's whether it delivers enough emotion to justify its price. At this level, people expect moments that stop them, spaces that feel indulgent, features that create immediate separation from homes priced $10 or $20 million less. That's where opinions split. Some will see elegance and discipline. Others will see missed opportunities. And that divide is what makes this estate fascinating, because the value in ultra-luxury real estate isn't fixed. It's negotiated emotionally. It lives in perception, in what someone feels when they walk through a space, in how a home fits into their lifestyle, not just their portfolio. For one buyer, this estate represents freedom, water access, simplicity, calm, a place to arrive and exhale. For another, it represents compromise, a home that could have gone further, a canvas that stopped just short of brilliance. Neither perspective is wrong, and that's why homes like this don't sell overnight. They wait for alignment, for the buyer whose expectations match the architect's intent, for the person who sees restraint as strength. So now the question turns to you. If you had $42,750,000 to spend on a home, would this be your choice? Would you prioritize location over amenities, water access over privacy, timeless design over dramatic features, or would you expect more for the price? That answer says less about the house and more about how you define luxury. And that's the conversation this estate was always meant to create. As the tour comes to a close, it's worth remembering that homes at this level don't exist in isolation. They exist inside a market shaped by timing, perception, and global demand. What feels overpriced today can feel inevitable tomorrow, especially in waterfront locations where land supply is finite and demand continues to rise. South Florida has changed dramatically over the past few years. Buyers who once focused on traditional luxury hubs have shifted their attention here, drawn by climate, lifestyle, tax advantages, and access to water. That shift alone has rewritten price expectations. This estate sits directly within that movement. It represents a new era of Florida luxury, one less focused on ornament and more focused on experience. Open living, seamless transitions, a strong relationship with the outdoors. Homes that function as platforms for lifestyle rather than showcases of excess. That approach resonates with modern buyers, but it also challenges traditional expectations. Because when people hear $43 million, they imagine everything turned up to the maximum. More rooms, more features, more statements, more wow. This home chooses a different path. It delivers quality over quantity, flow over flash, longevity over trend. And whether that's enough depends entirely on what you believe luxury should be. There is no doubt that the craftsmanship here is solid. Materials are consistent. Execution is clean. The home feels intentional rather than experimental. Nothing feels temporary. Nothing feels like it was added just to justify a price tag. That kind of discipline is rare. At the same time, discipline can feel limiting, especially to buyers who view a home not just as a residence but as a destination. A place that replaces hotels, spas, cinemas, and private clubs all under one roof. This estate doesn't aim to replace the outside world. It invites it in. The water becomes the amenity. The light becomes the luxury. The openness becomes the experience. That's a powerful idea, but it's not universal. And that's why this property has generated so much conversation. It doesn't hand you an answer, it asks you to decide. As the market continues to evolve, homes like this will either become benchmarks for restraint or reminders of opportunities missed. Time will decide. So will the buyer. Until then, this estate stands as a fascinating case study in modern ultra-luxury design. One that forces us to ask not just what a home costs, but what it's truly worth. And perhaps the most important takeaway isn't whether this property sells at asking price. It's whether it sells to someone who sees value where others see compromise. Because in the world of luxury real estate, the right buyer doesn't look for perfection. They look for alignment. As viewers reflect on everything they've seen, something interesting happens. The conversation shifts away from rooms and finishes and toward philosophy. Because this home doesn't just present a lifestyle, it challenges assumptions about what luxury should feel like in the modern era. For decades, ultra-high-end homes competed on spectacle. Bigger chandeliers, louder design, more rooms with specialized purposes. Luxury was about accumulation, more was always better. But the market has matured. Today's buyers are often less impressed by how much a home contains and more interested in how it lives, how it flows, how it feels over time, how it integrates into daily routines rather than overwhelming them. This estate clearly aligns with that mindset. Its value isn't immediately obvious in a single room or feature. It reveals itself gradually, in the way light moves through the home, in the consistency of materials, in the seamless connection between interior and exterior spaces, in the way the home feels calm even at its largest scale. That subtlety is intentional. It's also risky, because subtle luxury doesn't photograph as dramatically as theatrical luxury. It doesn't explode on social media. It doesn't generate instant shock. Instead, it asks for patience, for understanding, for context, and not every buyer or viewer is willing to give that, which is why reactions to this estate are so polarized. Some people see a $42.75 million home that doesn't check every traditional luxury box. They count missing amenities, they compare square footage, they imagine what else the money could buy elsewhere. Others see discipline. They see a home that resists trend-driven excess. They see long-term value rooted in land, location, and timeless design. Neither perspective is wrong. They're simply different definitions of success. What's undeniable is that this estate occupies a very narrow lane. It's not trying to appeal to aspiring luxury buyers. It's speaking directly to individuals who already live at this level and who no longer feel the need to prove it. For that audience, understatement becomes power. This home doesn't announce wealth, it assumes it. And that distinction matters. As the ultra-luxury market continues to globalize, buyers are exposed to properties around the world. They've seen everything. Private islands, mountain compounds, urban sky palaces, homes carved into cliffs and hidden underground. Against that backdrop, excess alone no longer guarantees value. Meaning does, intent does, alignment does. This estate wasn't built to impress the internet. It was built to satisfy a specific lifestyle. One rooted in water, movement, and openness. One that values daily enjoyment over curated moments. That clarity of purpose is rare. And it's also what makes this home so divisive. Because when a property is this intentional, it leaves no room for neutrality. You either understand it or you don't. And perhaps that's the real measure of luxury, not universal approval, but a confident identity. When properties reach this level of pricing, the transaction becomes less about real estate and more about psychology. Buyers aren't simply acquiring a home, they're making a statement to themselves about how they want to live, what they value, and how they define success. That's why two people can walk through the same space and arrive at completely different conclusions. One sees a refined waterfront sanctuary, perfectly calibrated for long-term enjoyment. The other sees a missed opportunity to push boundaries. Both reactions are valid because both are rooted in personal priorities. In recent years, the ultra-wealthy buyer profile has shifted. Many of today's high-net-worth individuals didn't inherit wealth, they built it. And with that comes a different relationship to luxury. These buyers tend to favor efficiency, clarity, and purpose. They value homes that support their lifestyle rather than distract from it. For them, a space that feels calm and predictable is more appealing than one that constantly demands attention. This estate seems to understand that buyer intimately. The layout is logical. Circulation is intuitive. Nothing feels forced. The home doesn't surprise you, it reassures you. That consistency creates comfort, and comfort is often undervalued in luxury discussions. But comfort doesn't trend, and that's where the disconnect arises. Online, luxury is often consumed visually. Through thumbnails, highlights, and dramatic moments. Homes that perform well on screens aren't always the homes that perform best in real life. This estate exists in that tension. It doesn't try to dominate attention spans. It invites long consideration. It rewards those who slow down. And in a market increasingly driven by speed, that approach can feel out of sync. Yet for the buyer who understands it, that very restraint becomes the selling point. They're not buying an image, they're buying a base. A place to return to, a platform for living rather than performing. And that distinction matters more than ever. Because as wealth grows globally, luxury becomes crowded. More homes compete for the same buyers. More developers push extremes. Louder designs, bigger claims, higher prices. In that environment, homes that know exactly what they are and what they are not stand out quietly. This estate doesn't promise transformation. It offers stability. It doesn't chase validation. It assumes confidence. And for a certain kind of buyer, that's the ultimate luxury. As the market continues to evolve, homes like this will increasingly be judged not by how fast they sell, but by who they sell to. By alignment rather than speed. By fit rather than flash. And that brings us back to the original question. Not whether this home is worth $42,750,000, but whether it's worth it to you. As the story reaches its later stages, another layer of perspective begins to form, one that goes beyond architecture, amenities, or even market trends. It's the idea of legacy. At this level of wealth, buyers often think in decades, not years. They consider how a property will age, how it will feel 10 or 20 years from now, and whether it will still make sense long after today's design trends fade. This estate appears to have been designed with that horizon in mind. There's a restraint in the choices that suggests patience rather than urgency. Materials that won't feel dated quickly. Layouts that won't need constant reworking. Spaces that adapt rather than demand reinvention. The home doesn't rely on novelty to justify itself. That matters to buyers who see real estate not just as a lifestyle purchase, but as a form of long-term positioning. Waterfront land like this doesn't multiply. It doesn't relocate. It doesn't get recreated once it's gone. Regardless of what happens inside the walls, the land beneath this home carries intrinsic value that persists through cycles, markets, and changing tastes. That reality alone explains why homes like this continue to exist and continue to command extraordinary prices. But legacy isn't only about value retention. It's also about how a space makes people feel over time. A home that overwhelms can impress once, but exhaust later. A home that constantly demands attention can lose its charm. This estate seems to understand that risk and deliberately avoids it. Instead of chasing moments, it prioritizes rhythm, daily life, repetition without friction. It's a home designed to disappear into routine rather than dominate it. For some buyers, that's deeply appealing. For others, it's anticlimactic. And that's the tension at the heart of this property, because luxury has two faces, one that dazzles and one that endures. This estate chooses endurance. As viewers reach this point in the story, opinions tend to solidify. People stop debating features and start revealing preferences. Some align with the philosophy, others reject it outright. And in doing so, they reveal what luxury means to them personally. That's the power of homes like this. They act as mirrors. They don't tell you what to think. They show you who you are as a buyer, a viewer, or a dreamer. And perhaps that's why this estate feels so quietly confident. It doesn't chase consensus. It doesn't need approval. It waits. Because somewhere there is a buyer who sees exactly what this home offers and wants nothing more and nothing less. As the story comes to an end, what remains isn't a definitive verdict, it's a perspective. This estate was never meant to be universally loved. It wasn't designed to win every argument or silence every critic. Instead, it exists as a statement of intent. A declaration of how one version of modern luxury chooses to express itself. At $42,750,000, this home does not ask for understanding. It assumes it. It assumes a buyer who already knows what they want, who has already experienced excess, and who no longer needs it to feel fulfilled. For that buyer, this property isn't missing anything. It's complete. The absence of certain amenities isn't a flaw, it's a choice. A refusal to clutter the experience with features that may never be used. A belief that luxury isn't measured by how many rooms exist, but by how naturally life unfolds inside them. This is a home for someone who values mornings over moments, evenings over events, water over walls, light over spectacle. It's a home designed to support a lifestyle rather than define it. And that distinction is what separates good luxury from meaningful luxury. For others, however, the price will always feel heavy, the expectations too high, the restraint too quiet. They'll imagine alternatives, compare markets, count features, ask what more could have been done, and that's fair. Because at this level, luxury isn't objective, it's deeply personal. What this estate ultimately proves is that value in ultra-high-end real estate cannot be calculated the way it is at lower levels. It isn't about price per square foot or feature checklists. It's about alignment, about whether a space fits the rhythm of someone's life. When that alignment exists, the price becomes secondary. When it doesn't, no number ever feels justified. So is this home worth $42,750,000? For the wrong buyer, absolutely not. For the right one, there may be nothing else like it. And that's the reality of luxury at its highest level. If this tour made you think, question, or reconsider what luxury really means, then it has done exactly what it was meant to do. Thank you for watching.